And you found us. Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Got to make sure I have my swisher on. Oh, my swisher's working. My swisher's working. Hi, how are you? Welcome. I'm Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. This is my takeout, my takes on all things considerable. Man, we're starting right up top, 2 o'clock Pacific, straight on. You might say, I don't know, maybe some of you are saying this, maybe some of you aren't. You're saying, Emil, yeah, yesterday was Thursday. Where were you? I had to watch the replay. Well, it's good to watch a replay every now and then. No, I had to go fix my car. Here's a tip. Get mechanical breakdown insurance when you get a new car, because then when things fall apart, they're covered. You're covered. So I got covered for everything. The radio breaking down, everything. It's great insurance. But I went to a new place. I go to a dealer. And I went to a dealer that I didn't buy the car from this dealer. But I went to another dealer, and they were good until they weren't good. And their service was so bad, they made me go to another dealer. And here's the thing. I didn't want to go to this second dealer because I would have bought the car from them in the first place, but their service was so lousy on the sales side. I said, screw you, I'm going to the other place. So now I sort of begrudgingly gave them a second chance with my car at 140,000 miles. But they were good. They were professional, and all it takes is someone to be a little kind to, nice to, and help you out. And it was a little service goes a long way. I dropped off the car. They shuttled me to my house. They picked me up. They shuttled me back. It was great. A little service. That's all we want. We just want a little. We want people to be nice to us. A little nice. Anyway, welcome. That's my personal takeout. Welcome to my takes on all things considerable. You know, big and small. It's Friday. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. Professor Dan is here. We're going to talk to him about the news. Big news. The Obamas have backed Harris. You knew that was going to happen. They weren't going to hold out unless they wanted to pull an ego thing. They weren't going to hold out. So that's now formal. And then let's see what else. On the Harris thing, she's going out meeting with Netanyahu, and people are taking shots at her, verbal shots, saying, you know, what does she know? What can she knows a heck of a lot more than Donald Trump. The only thing Trump has going for him is he has that male bonding kind of, do you call it machismo? It's not machismo, but it's all relationships after a while. And that's the only thing that I would say Trump has over Kamala Harris right now. Trump has some relationships that are kind of symbiotic between himself and the bad guys or other people in power. Nice, specifically Netanyahu, Putin, and the dynamic of a female president. You got to wonder how that changes things. The misogyny, the racism, the sexism. So we'll get into that with Professor Dan in a second. Just thought I'd put that out there. Also, I want to mention how I have discovered that I have so many childless cat lady friends. I don't know how that happened, but I have childless cat lady friends. And they all contacted me yesterday and said, what the hell or heck is going on with this JD Vance guy? And I said, I totally understand. And it's just, I just find it funny. I got a little note here that this is from the Pew Research Center. Fewer Americans want kids. So JD Vance, with his childless cat person talk has suddenly identified a new identity of Americans, the childless Americans. It turns out more and more people want to be childless Americans. The U.S. fertility rate is at an historic low, and it poses problems for future growth. And, some economics believe that. By the numbers, 47% of adults under 50 without kids say they're unlikely to have them. That's 10 percentage points up from 2018. Of those who said they're unlikely to have children, 57% said they just don't want to. There's the choice. I mean, you could talk about choice in terms of reproductive freedom and, choice to have an abortion, not have an abortion, choice to have kids, not have kids. That's the choice. So, of those who said they're unlikely to have children, 57% said they just don't want to, while 44% said they wanted to focus on different things, not children. 38% pointed to the state of the world, environment, climate, the environment's going to heck. You don't want to bring kids in this world, right? 36% said they couldn't afford to raise a child, which that's a number that should alarm the politicians. Oh, it's the economics. That's why we got to fix the economics of it. 13% cited infertility and other medical reasons. So, people think, oh, they're not having children because they can't. No, it's a choice. It's the new pro-choice to be childless Americans. Here's a stat worth pondering. 64% of young women say they just don't want children, compared to 50% of men. 64% of young women. This is what America has become. And so when J.D. Vance takes a shot at childless cat women and then starts talking, and he said that a couple of years ago. They brought back that old clip from his interview with, the Fox guy. The Fox guy, the guy. The guy got fired, that guy. I'm having a Biden moment, you can tell. But they bring that up, and now people need to understand what J.D. Vance's pro-family rhetoric is about. He's about building up American birth rates. He's about also American family. The American family, because he had such a rotten one. And one New Yorker writer said, this is J.D. Vance's new identity politics, bashing the childless Americans because he's so pro-family, and as he sees it, the Democrats are anti-family. I just think that we should be aware about the rhetoric and what he says and what is really happening in America. And with that birth rate going down, what that birth rate means, that sort of fuels the MAGA thing, because MAGA is about demographics, and it's about the changing white demographic in America, which is funny because J.D. Vance, he's pro-family, but he's also pro-intermarriage. So you got to wonder, where's this guy coming from? He's pro-birth rate, so that's a MAGA position, but he's also for intermarriage, which means he will marry an Indian woman, he'll marry a person of color, but he forces her, well, I don't know, I think it was probably her choice if she was going to have all the children. She leaves her high-paid job as a litigator to be a stay-at-home mom. That's J.D. Vance's family values. It's complex, but, it's, you see the reaction people gave J.D. Vance, their reaction to the childless Catwoman comments from a couple of years ago. And this is going to be a constant as people discover JD Vance. Of course, we're discovering, some of us have known her sometime, but a lot of people are discovering Kamala Harris for the first time. And so far, I just think it's a marvel that it's only been a little more than a week. It was a week ago Sunday that Biden steps aside. Kamala Harris is Biden's choice to take over the ticket. Biden actually passes the torch on Monday, when I believe, that's what I call it, when all the official workings of the dual campaign become the Harris campaign on Monday. He gives a speech on Wednesday, and by then, so much has happened. We're off to the races. I think people have essentially forgotten Biden. I mean, he's going to do his presidential thing in the remaining months that he has as a lame duck, but a powerful lame duck. Powerful because he doesn't have to worry about getting elected. He'll go out there occasionally for Harris, but it's going to be Harris's job to do the politicking. So we are in a totally different realm. Just a little more than a week. That's how long it was. And so let's contemplate where we are. Let's contemplate how everyone's being defined, redefined, how the race is being redefined. Let's bring up my friend, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Professor Ethnic Studies, Emeritus, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Asian American Studies, Asian American Political History.
Hello. Good
Hi,
afternoon,
Dan.
Emil. Good afternoon, Emil.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to get the Catwoman thing out there, the shot, yeah, because that's sort of what's still on people's minds. It's the latest
Yeah,
to
it's
upset people.
2021 though. It was 2021, and the loose cannon early development of Mr. Vance,
Yeah.
right, was very much in evidence that year. So you could pick a number of statements that he made in 2021, and they would not necessarily be as stupid as the Catwoman thing, but
Yeah, but all right, but look, as I said, he also believes now, this is his now 2024 belief, that women should stay at home and raise their kids.
yes, that's
And that his wife, high paid litigator, quit her job to raise their three kids. And that's a belief. He also switched to Catholicism, which believes in no choice, right? The
no
choice,
choice.
no
Right, right.
choice.
Yeah, not even
And
about contraception. We're not supposed to do contraception.
of course not. Of course
You're
not.
supposed to report that to confessional
If you
before
have a
convening.
baby, that's your choice.
Yeah,
Babies,
I used to make fun of that all the time. Even while I was in high school, I went to a Catholic high school, and we had to do we had to read this book. I can't remember which year it was. I think it was second year, and it was all about how not to have sex.
yeah. Oh,
Go take a cold shower. You get a stiffy, go take a cold shower, that kind of stuff. And I said, well, the Catholics say that the rhythm method is the way to practice, right? Control, birth control. And I said, well, that involves coitus interruptus. Is the yeah, it's like not the Hawaiian pullout. That's a surfer's thing, but
yeah,
pull out. And
yeah,
so if it's coitus interruptus, and all the other methods are coitus interruptus, then what's the actual difference in terms of intent?
yeah,
If you're gonna judge this from a Catholic morality, perspective,
yeah,
is this dogma?
yeah. Well, pull out. We know that Joe Biden practiced pull out in Afghanistan, but we're talking about a different pull out.
Oh no! Oh no!
So, all right. So, tell me. Wait. I mean, JD Vance is in all this trouble, but does he? Do people? I mean, a lot of people are upset. Women, especially. Does he? Does he last this? Does he outlast this, or does?
I don't know that he can. I think even see he's a very flexible dude, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in less well, let me see, in less than 8 years, right? he did a complete spin around. What? It's about 6, 7 years. He did a complete spin around because
Uh,
he once called Trump Hitler and all the rest of
yeah,
that.
American. That was 2016.
Yeah, yeah.
He
So
originally said
that's
it in
about it.
2016.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
but then he started changing his tune when he wanted to win the Senate,
mm.
and he's only been in the Senate for a little under 2 years, right?
18 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to do that pull out.
Yeah. Hey,
And,
I think that it's leading people to think that maybe Trump made a bad choice in Vance. I mean,
yeah, well,
I don't know.
yeah. The funniest that I've heard is that he wanted a mini me because he was thinking
Yeah,
about his legacy,
right.
and I
Oh yeah.
think okay, I could see him thinking about his legacy, but him looking at Vance as a mini me is kind of a real laugher for me because Vance, however much of a either a hypocrite, right, or a authoritarian, right, an autocratic.
Yeah.
However much of that you think he is, he's way smarter than Trump.
Oh yeah.
That's the scary part for Trump. He does not like people that look and act smarter than him. So it's not a question of whether or not Vance will survive. It's a question of whether or not Trump lets him survive.
Oh yeah. Well, it is another form of The Apprentice, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I
here
don't
we
know.
are. Here we are. And now it's going to be live play by play in
Yeah.
America's face for the next several months. And I don't know if Vance is going to survive that. I don't, it's going to be very interesting to see what the hell the GOP does, man.
Well, they can get rid of him, right?
Oh, yeah, they could burn him on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to go down the aisle like with Sarah Palin or Dan Quayle. I mean, they were all known as albatrosses around, their respective president's neck. But Vance, especially, I think if Trump starts to lose, I don't think there's any question he'll. But can he? Can he do that? Is it permissible?
Can Trump dump Vance? Is that
Yeah.
your question? Yeah,
Yeah.
if he tells them, and Trump can't do anything quietly. The
Yeah.
dude, everything, you don't have to leak. If you if
Yeah.
you're on Trump's team, you don't have to leak because this guy is a fountain, right? He's
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
own fountain of information that blatantly hits the fan, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Stinks the place up like crazy, and
Yeah.
it's so a plane. But his base, the reason he gets away with that is because one, he's crazy, okay, and two, his base doesn't care. They
Right.
don't care that he's a criminal. They don't care that he's nuts because, in great part, they're nuts too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's true. That's why, in some ways, some people say, "Oh, JD Vance, he makes perfect sense." Except for the balance. I mean, maybe for 30% of the Trumpers,
Hey man, I was really happy when when he said JD man.
yeah.
I was really sad because there was a great senator, Democratic senator that Vance beat out, and the
Oh
only
yeah.
reason I think he was that successful was because that idiot PT, Peter Thiel,
Yeah.
one of the billionaires from
PayPal.
Silicon Valley, right, backed him up. And
Yeah, he beat Ryan, and Ryan actually was one of the first to say, "Hey, you got to get Kamala in there. You got to
yeah,
get
yeah,
Kamala in
he
there."
was. He actually was. Yeah.
And I like Ryan because he's a meditator. He led the House's meditation caucus
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the Senate, but it's unfortunately lost. But he's still out there. He'll look.
Yeah, no, he was a good one. I
Yeah.
mean, he was really a good one, and it was tragic. That tells you what the population of Ohio is like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I know Ohio. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. Well, they got
here's the lesson.
they're a midwestern state. That Ohio's traditionally right the beginning of the Midwest.
Mm.
I think West Virginia is like the beginning of the Midwest, but Ohio has had some of the most stringent requirements for voters
Yeah.
ever since the Supreme Court gutted Section 5, right, of the
Right.
civil of the Voting Rights Act. So I mean, they were among the first, and then they had always been doing crazy ass gerrymandering. You know.
Yeah, and well, it's a strange state, and I think that the lesson from watching, Biden, just to watch Biden's career, up and
Hmm.
down and up and down. You got to lose, and politicians lose. They don't win every race, and
Yeah.
when they're down, they're down. But then they rise back up. I mean, you could go over all the presidential careers: Clinton, Obama. You know, I remember when Obama was up one year and then down one year. This is before he got to the presidency,
Yeah.
and then his ascent. But it takes a couple of times. And you look at Biden, same thing. Now he's down, but I want to talk. Let's move off from Vance. We'll talk about Biden in a second. Let's talk about where Harris is, because all the Vance talk yesterday took a little of the spotlight away from Kamala for once. Gave let her do her thing out of the spotlight, which was in
Well, she
some
was
ways good.
busy, prepping for Netanyahu, right?
Yeah,
She had to
right.
do a rally, and then
Then she met with the Netanyahu, and now
she
there's
made a statement right afterwards.
yeah. Now there's a dispute on whether or not whatever she said would hurt. And then the Trumpers released a Trump Netanyahu video. I mentioned earlier up top that maybe this is one of the advantages that Trump has, and that this idea of personal relationship between people like Netanyahu, people like Putin. Is this an advantage for Trump in foreign relations in these matters?
Hell no. If are you looking at globally?
Well, I'm just asking you.
No, no. Globally, it's a disadvantage. I mean, globally, it's a disadvantage. But see, he's already disadvantaged. Everybody globally knows what you get when you get Trump. Okay,
Which is
because they've already gone through it. They've already gone through it. So there's, yes, he could be further disadvantaged, but it really doesn't make that much difference. Trump is in negative space as far as the rest of the world, except for what he claims to be our close personal relationships, right,
mhm,
with the autocrats.
right.
Okay, now what? So okay, so that's really good for you, Mr. Trump. But what does the rest of the world think about those autocratic regimes? Okay, are they? Is China? I can tell you right now, Xi is rethinking the proximity that he's developed with Putin. All right, I can tell you
Right.
that right now because his economy is going to go to crap. It's already in trouble. It's flat as hell, right? And now we're all talking about what can they do about it, right? And what we can do about it is just stop buying our stuff at Walmart.
Yeah.
That would take care of a lot of
Well,
their economy immediately, right?
well, my question was, does who has the advantage going in on any kind of future talks with Xi? Does
Well, I think,
Trump, because of a
yeah,
relationship, or
yeah,
she had a relationship with Biden? They came over here
she
for the
did.
summit. Now it's Harris. Does Harris have more of a relationship?
I don't know. She's going to have to prove herself in this regard. She's
Yeah.
she's had some limited experience, right, internationally. She understands the pivot to Asia because everybody else was trying to do it, right? All the Republicans, all of the Democrats, right, all the way. I mean, the guy that was most successful in that whole period, right, since let's say the '60s was Nixon.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
He did détente in two different directions. He did détente to the east with Russia, and he did détente to the west with China. And
Nixon
and
and
he
China.
only the only reason I think he got away with that was not only because he had a copacetic Congress, but he's a Republican. If a Democrat had done what Nixon did, right, with
Oh
détente,
yeah,
they would have called him a communist coddler.
communist. Yeah, yeah,
Everybody's a communist coddler. All the Democrats had to wear that, right? Because they wanted to end the war in Vietnam, among other things. And most of America thought we could splatter Vietnam all over the Southeast Asia and nobody would care.
yeah.
And it didn't turn out that way.
Well, that's a good point. But how about this idea I raised, that Kamala Harris is a woman in these situations, in these any kind of future talks and negotiations, and Trump is a guy who looks like he's got some rapport, perhaps. Whose advantage
As
is?
a as a as a misogynist,
Well, just as male leader among male leaders. Is that an advantage Trump, or is that a hopeful, more a closet
I
sniper?
wouldn't call it an advantage Trump as much as I would. Well, okay, it's an advantage to Trump only because people think he's such an idiot,
Yeah.
right? Because the other world leaders know how to game the guy.
Okay.
Remember, his love affair with North Korea,
Yeah.
and they made this big ballyhoo about him stepping over the border and
Yeah.
doing all that. He went 20 feet, I think, over the border. That was as far as they would let that fool go.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he claims that I got this great relationship. What? If
He's in
you
love.
talk to
He's
the
in love.
North Koreans, they don't trust anybody American, and they especially don't trust Trump because the kind of stuff that they let through their media does not make him look good.
Okay. So
Okay,
the main point is, just because Trump has sort of been there and he's known doesn't mean he's got an advantage on
not at all.
foreign relations, and it still leaves it open for Kamala Harris to do what she
Well,
could.
that's an excellent point. Is that I think that's what I also would agree with you on. Is that she's got to prove herself in this circumstance. She understands the pivot to Asia because she was here in California before she ran for the Senate, and the California governors were trying to pivot to Asia, right? Even before Newsom.
Mm.
And Newsom has probably done a better job. Feinstein was in on the pivot to Asia. Pelosi was in on the pivot to Asia, right? Boxer was in on the pivot to Asia. Hey, this has been going on for 50 years, almost 60 years, ever since Nixon. And
Well,
so,
yeah, but she has allies. The point
yeah,
is, she would have
yeah,
allies to lean on. It's interesting what you say about Newsom, because Newsom isn't the guy now,
no,
and I'm sure that a lot of people thought that he would be the guy in this position at this point, and probably if Feinstein were still alive, I think he might
he'd be the
have.
anointed one.
I think because of the circumstances, at some point Kamala Harris leapfrogged. I think the leapfrog happened when she was chosen as vice president, because it was clear
Oh
that
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
she
that's
was
it.
the next person. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Newsom. I think that I hope she doesn't pick Kelly. Not because I don't think Kelly's capable.
mhm.
I am worried about losing a Senate seat.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to do that. So
Well, let's transition into the deep stakes, and we'll go back to Kamala, but because that's the next big thing. She says that she will have the pick by the first week of August.
yeah, August
Hey,
7th.
you don't want Kelly, so let me guess. You probably want, after looking more at Cooper, I think it might be Cooper.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Only because he's, look, they're all white males, right? So you got to balance her with a white male.
You got to
Because,
do the gender race thing.
well,
Okay.
because the other thing that's,
But everybody says America isn't about race.
yeah,
Race is,
yeah, Tim
we don't
Scott,
see we
Senator
don't
Tim
see
Scott says
color.
it's not about race. Senator Tim Scott says that, but you know it's about race. But but
Yeah,
but
while he's doing the soft shoe,
here's the thing,
and
Dan.
going for another pot of tea.
Yeah, Dan, if
That's
she chooses
bad.
Cooper,
That's
if
terrible.
she if she
Smoked
chooses Cooper,
pizza?
if
Yeah.
she chooses Cooper, what's good is he's moderate, he's white male, he's working in a very conservative state. They also win back North Carolina, which is positive, border state. She can get, if she gets North Carolina, she'll probably get. It's not logical totally, but she might get Georgia. She might get Kelly anyway. In Arizona, Nevada is going to be possibly more in play than with Biden. But North Carolina, if she gets North Carolina, that's an important state. I think Cooper might be the moderating. If people are going to throw the San Francisco liberal term at her, Cooper is the antidote to that.
Yeah, you could. I agree with you that they're going to come after everybody hard on the liberal thing, and particularly San Francisco. My students were kind of surprised when I would say, you got to remember, everybody outside the United States loves San Francisco. Everybody outside California hates San Francisco, and so you got to understand that, man.
Hey,
Anyway, okay, yeah, they're going to use that against her,
yeah,
it's not going to work as well as they think. The What was I going to say? Oh, my guy is Shapiro. So
Shapiro, yeah,
I'm going to do, when we're done today, I'm going to do a comparison and make a list between Cooper and Shapiro and see what's going on. But I
yeah.
like the governor, aspect. I think
Well,
that's a good thing.
Cooper's governor.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
I like
governor's,
them
yeah.
both. I like them both. That's why
Governor's good.
I would make them comparable. Yes, but
Yeah.
I'd have to compare more closely.
I think that Shapiro would be good also, and they probably would. That would help them win Pennsylvania.
Yep, that's
But
what I'm thinking.
I think they would win more with Cooper because they'd
Okay.
win the South, they'd win North Carolina back, and North Carolina has enough so that they probably are closer to 270 because I think they take for granted that they're going to win Pennsylvania. So that would be the only flaw in my logic, that you pick Cooper because you think you've got Pennsylvania already with
Yeah, with
Shapiro,
Shapiro,
and and
there.
people being excited about Kamala. Although, Biden, he was running as a Scranton guy. They should have, they should have had Biden anyway. I mean, they should have had Pennsylvania anyway. But it's going
Yeah,
to be.
Pennsylvania is a very divided state, though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's not divided north south. It's divided east west.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
further you get away from the shoreline, the more conservative it gets.
Yeah. Harrisburg,
Sure,
Penn,
Pitt, yeah, that's right.
Penn State is, and
Yeah, yeah.
um,
They,
yeah,
yeah, the west. It's the beginning of their West Belt.
I've traveled through Pennsylvania, the Turnpike, a number
Yeah,
of times, and yeah, it's a big state,
yeah,
a big state, and
yeah. It's not so big north south, but it is big east west.
east west, yeah, and you're going, say, from the Maryland border to, say, Harrisburg. That's a long drive.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
long drive, and then yeah, pretty state, a lot of green.
It is. Well, yeah. Once again, yeah, it's like New Jersey, and
Yeah,
it's a lot of green.
yeah, but I think that from what I'm seeing, there seems to be a push for Cooper because they were. I first started hearing his name around the time of the Republican convention,
Hmm.
and he's known as a moderate who works across the aisle. That might be needed still in this
I think that's a good point.
this
I think
era.
that's a good point. Shapiro is clearly more. He leans a little further left, and he's also quite aggressive about it. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
So, all right, let's see. I mean, everyone says you don't win with your vice presidential pick, but you balance the ticket and you make all those haters who won't vote for a woman, who won't vote for an African American, Asian American woman, won't vote for a San Francisco liberal woman. How does, I mean, this is all gets to this question of
Yeah,
who's
well, they
going
didn't vote for an Alaska, kind of half-term governor either, did they?
to, yeah. Well,
So,
that's true.
so Yeah, I mean, what? So on the one hand, you could say that it's not a positive thing that they will vote for a ticket because of the vice president, but it is a negative thing.
Yeah.
Back to Vance again, right? That you could hurt your ticket by having a problematic vice president pick.
Yeah. I
So,
think,
and that's happened. That's happened a lot.
yeah, I think based on what you said, the least hurtful of the three, Kelly, Cooper, and
Shapiro.
Shapiro, I think the least hurtful might be Cooper. That's why I think Cooper. Anyway,
Yep.
look, we'll see. We'll see what her choice is.
Yep. 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 I
It
think that's
boils
good.
down to you do a split screen, like here's me and you on the split screen on YouTube, and
You
you
okay?
put yeah, I'm good, and you put Harris on one side, so you can be Cooper and I'll be Harris, and then and see who you like, because it's all image. Here's this dark skinned African American, Asian American woman, smart. Here's this white, you know, former governor, North Carolina. I mean, I think that's a good look for the conservative parts of America who say, I'm not voting for that African American woman. I'm not, you want me to vote for a woman and she's an African American and an Asian too? You know, I think the Cooper look might help her. I think the Cooper
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be
Well,
more.
what's wrong with the Shapiro look?
The Shapiro look is good too, but like you said, younger, more aggressive, maybe more, Eastern liberal kind of thing.
Yeah.
So who alienates maybe more of the moderates?
Well, the ethnicity thing could be an issue too in terms of who
Yeah,
you pick.
I mean, it's been said. Some people
Um,
say, his being Jewish may be an issue, but I don't see that so much as his personal style. And if his style is a more aggressive one, and Harris is very aggressive.
mhm, mhm. Well, she
Cooper,
can be.
yeah.
I think she can soften her stuff. I mean, she softened a lot when she got elected to the Senate.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think,
And
well, except when she, is interviewing Brett
Barr and
Kavanaugh.
everybody else, yeah, and some of the prospective justices who
Yeah,
all made it, even though McConnell's excuse for barring Merrick Garland was it's too close to the election.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what does he do? Two of them right in the election year, and one of them within 60 days, less than 60
Oh,
days,
yeah,
about
Coney
45
Barrett.
days.
Yeah,
You know, what
that
else?
was
And then people, fantastic levels of hypocrisy like that, and the
yeah.
people just don't care. You know why? Because they want this place to be Christian, white, and male dominant. That's what they want. You know?
Well, that was Coney Barrett, and that's sort of in many ways that's JD Vance too. He's just the number two. He's just the number. But his views very pro-Catholic, pro-choice, or pro-abortion. Oh no, anti-abortion, anti-abortion.
Anti-abortion, anti-contraception,
Yeah,
more pregnancies. Keep the women at home. Okay,
families,
have
family.
real families. Give parents more political power, right? Than parentless people. I mean,
Right.
than childless people.
It's
That
the
means,
American childless.
yeah,
They're the new minority.
yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a close majority. It's a
Oh no,
close
they're not.
minority, man.
They're not. I don't mean to say they're the new. They're the new. Uh, they're the new target. The new identity
Sure, sure.
group. The childless Americans.
Yeah,
You're a
they're
childless.
the new socio-political target. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Well,
So all
so
you people, stay in your relationships. What do you mean he threatened you? What do you mean? What are those scars? What do you? How many times have you been to the hospital? And wait, you gotta understand your obligation to stay in that
the
relationship.
family that stays together beats themselves up together.
Yeah,
That's the great thing.
yeah.
They
It
batter
opens themselves
together.
up to abuse and maybe even murder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean that's his grandparents didn't have a great relationship, but they stayed together. I'm talking about JD Vance,
Yeah, of course.
hillbilly elegy. But all right, so let's talk more about Kamala here because some people have described this as the honeymoon period.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is, and it is.
and look, she is as they say, she's on fire. She is, man. She's just really
Well, I like the way the Republicans are coming at her, especially with the DEI stuff, right? You got senators and Congress people that are dumb as toads, right? And you can tell not only by what they say about her, but you can tell by the positions that they take on a multitude of issues, and
yeah,
and most of them are absolutely afactual and nonsensical.
yeah,
Okay, and
yeah,
those two things go together, right? If you
yeah,
can't if you can't recognize fact, right? Then your arguments are going to be largely nonsensical. So there they are saying she, because she's black, right?
mhm,
Okay, is not capable of doing this job. She is merely a DEI. And what does that say? All people of color aren't worthy of their brown ass or in our instances,
Yeah.
or their black ass jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know, that
Right.
cracked me up. I can't remember which woman said that on on
Right. We
on
don't
one of the
belong.
morning shows.
And this still endures. It still goes on, and
Oh yeah,
no matter how qualified she is. I mean, look, she's Hastings grad.
yeah,
She's
yeah. It's now
she's
University of California at San Francisco Law. Yeah,
right, and she's Howard grad. She
yeah. But they discount all of that.
yeah,
They look at Howard and they say, okay, it's a black college, and right away that means it's not as good as all the other public universities. It's not
no,
as good as the private university, not as good as the public universities.
no,
And Howard, I think, is only number two. I think Spelman's number one among the black universities.
as an
And
HBCU, yeah,
yeah, and then they're not looking at Howard's graduates and where they go, and like a lot of people of color who have gone to public institutions, they have risen to the top, and that's what's really upsetting to white folks. They do not like having having people of color in positions of authority of
yeah.
any kind. And the
Well,
first place where we threatened them was in the sciences.
yeah. Hey,
It's the
but
first place.
can't haven't we gotten beyond that though?
Hell no. Hell no, we have not gotten beyond that. I have served on university committees, and I know damn well that because I was a representative from the College of Ethnic Studies, right, that people were thinking, this guy's a nobody. He's nothing. He's just, ethnic studies, what's that? Okay. And then when somebody, including the chair of the committee, relies on me for something about, a legal interpretation or a political historical reference, right? And I give them that, suddenly they kind of taken aback, and I can tell they reacted. One English professor said, when I talked about the possibility of a resolution of an issue by referring to past practice, right? And I talked about that being a legal concept used in equitable courts, right? Courts of equity, and I said, past practice, pattern of practice. They sat back and they said, I didn't know that. And I said, well, I wouldn't expect you to know that because you're not a lawyer, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the one moment where they were kind of had to sit back and say, wait a minute. But I can tell you right now, it still exists.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We're going 60 years now after the Civil Rights Act. Affirmative action is a little younger than that. That 60 years around there. That's like at least 3 generations. You would think maybe we're doing a little better. To give credit to people who show merit, and they show the fact that they come from a community of color. That they come from what would be heretofore
Okay.
dubbed a disadvantaged background.
I will answer your position, which is kind of a statement and a question at the same time, with a question. And that question is, if we have made significant progress, but
Yeah,
if we have made the kind of progress that you suggest is possible, and I agree that it's possible,
it's
right?
possible. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
possible. Yeah,
Well, then why did all of those Asian Americans, and some of them weren't even Asian Americans, they weren't even citizens, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or permanent residency. Why did those plaintiffs, mostly of one particular ethnicity,
Right.
or national origin, why did they sue Harvard? Okay, it's as simple as that. They're suing Harvard because they say there's a preferential system that discriminates against us. Okay, well then, what about the other side of the coin? Doesn't that mean that you have to recognize as well that there are other people who have been discriminated against? And so now you're going to make a merit only argument. And here's the laugher, right? And we've made this point before on your show.
Yeah.
They can't even tell whether or not they're being treated fairly now. They
Oh,
can't
yeah.
tell
Yeah.
because there's no data. There's no data kept on
Because we're totally colorblind. I mean, this is the thing.
Yeah, that's right.
We have ended the argument by taking away the tools in which we can evaluate
That's
whether or not
exactly.
the argument should go away.
And we've been through
Okay,
this in California. We've been through this in California with 209,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Remember when Dan Lundgren was Attorney General and he said he actually filed suit against Santa Clara County because Santa Clara County was continuing to keep data on the ethnicities of their employees,
yeah,
on county employees, and he said that's illegal and unconstitutional under Proposition 209. In my classes, I had said portions of Proposition 209 are already unconstitutional and they're not going to be able to be upheld by any straight thinking courts. And that's exactly what happened.
yeah,
So Lundgren had to walk away with his tail between his legs and he lost on that. All right. But that exact issue is what Harvard now presents to the plaintiffs who said, we just want to be treated fairly. Well, how do you know? How
yeah,
can you tell?
yeah. Well, we're in a we'll never solve this issue, but the fine points remain when people can get away with looking at Kamala Harris, as accomplished as she is, and say, "There's a DEI hire."
There's a DEI, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
dumbass, another dumbass from the South.
yeah. Tim Burchett from Tennessee. But the thing is, you look at all the white people, and they are DEI hires. If you were going to expand the universe from not just people of color, but to all people, including whites,
Mhm. Yep.
if the
Well,
advocates
see,
for
they
white,
can't imagine themselves in that position, though. They cannot imagine themselves in that position.
yeah,
One of the issues that I posed to my students, right, way back 35 years ago, because a lot of the businesses in San Francisco were now actually Asian-based businesses. Banks, insurance companies, technical companies, startups around technology, and and I said, okay, so now you got these companies, and you got some startups in Silicon Valley that are owned and run by people who are Asian immigrants, right? And now they're Asian Americans now, and so they get to hire. Okay, so do you think there might be preferences to hire Asians, right? Whether they be Asian American or Asian immigrants, right? As long as they're here legally and they're supposed to, they're hireable. Okay, so do you think that there's a possibility that white folks might feel the need to make an affirmative action lawsuit because they're being discriminated against as white people? Do you think that's a possibility? Yeah, yeah. And I
yeah,
said, this is beyond now the Backy case, where he
yeah.
said there's a program of special admissions that is discriminatory. We're talking about people simply saying we're being directly discriminated against, and therefore we need affirmative action for white folks. And everybody laughed.
Well,
Okay,
here we are.
because they
Here,
thought I was joking, and I do joke like that. Okay, but I said, well,
here we are now.
okay, what are all these? Do you have any? Why don't you have white nurses in some states, right? Why don't you? Can you get a really qualified X-ray tech? Because I don't know this person of color. I don't know. I don't want to be touched by these people.
Yeah,
Okay, and that I'm talking about recent history, folks. I'm not
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
something that
Well,
happened 50 years ago. I'm
I'm,
saying
I'm
this happens now.
and I'm saying that the use of the term diversity, equity, inclusion (DEI) that's been used as the kind of the new uh,
The new CRT,
the new euphemism for
people
CRT
of color,
or
unqualified.
the new affirmative action. But the
That's
thing
right.
is that now people are running off, DEI. The
Right.
ironic thing is DEI for the God fearing in Latin means God.
God.
God,
Yay.
they should love this.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
actually,
God
it's of God. Yeah.
of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they should love it even more. This is God's
Yeah.
work.
The masculine singular is Deus.
Deus.
Yeah.
So all right, I only I read so much.
Well, they didn't require that at Lowell.
Yeah, they
That was
didn't
that was required at my school.
they didn't teach a dead language at Lowell. So hey, more on Kamala because it's all about a race to define her, and I'm happy. See, this has always been the key with me because I was always a little upset with her that she never copped to her Asianness, but she'll always say, "Yeah, my mom who's Indian," and then that's why I believe my mom always used to always say, "What do you think? You just fell off a coconut tree?" All right, that
Oh
was
yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
attributed to mom, and and her mom. She always reveres her mom because her father was never in the picture.
Right.
And yet, she doesn't go with her mom as her identifier. It's her blackness, her African Americanness. So I always have,
It's Jamaican too, isn't it?
yeah, Jamaican,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I would always remind her, when I would write about her that, whenever I'm announcing and, I'm running, and it's always African American. And then, and unless she's pressured, does she mention her Asianness? And then she's only caught when she has to acknowledge her mother's Indian. And so, that has always bothered me about her. But I notice now, well, since the Biden selection and the election through Biden as his vice president, they had to acknowledge first Asian American, first African American woman.
Well, some of it is also being pressed by some media.
Yeah.
Some TV and radio media have given equal treatment, right, to
They
both sides.
should, shouldn't they? Shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should. They
Yeah.
should.
I
And
mean,
I don't know if that was something that she put out there, or that the campaign put out there, or the White House put out there. I don't know what the initiation, of that more equal treatment
well,
was, but I think it's absolutely a necessary thing. I understand why she emphasized the black side.
Well,
You
I
know,
do. I do too now, because you see how in that first weekend, 40,000 of her sorority sisters went
yeah,
out there on a Zoom call and raised tens of thousands of
yeah.
dollars, and then
Well,
the next day,
some of my colleagues, African American women professors,
yeah, and
are members of the same sorority,
yeah,
and I've attended some. Unfortunately, my colleagues passed away, and I've attended their funerals. Linda and I have attended their funerals, and some of their students were also my students.
yeah.
They took classes from me, and I'll tell you, the sororities are freaking incredible,
Oh,
man.
well,
They
yeah,
really are
they had 40,
high achievers.
they
Just
had 40,000 on Saturday, then they had 30,000. The men,
yeah,
the
yeah,
black
yeah.
men, they raised tens of thousands for
Hey, man,
so I
I
understand.
got the highest respect for their sororities and their frats, because they have produced some of the best people,
Yeah.
just best human beings that I've known in my life. Even though we disagree on some
Well,
points,
well, see,
you
this is
know.
the thing. I get why she led black, because blacks are a support network. I mean, you can rely on the sororities, fraternities. You can rely on Clyburn in the Congress. You can rely on African Americans.
There
You
you
can rely
go.
on the
Yeah.
Congressional Black
But
Caucus.
for the same reason that she chose to go to Howard,
Yeah,
I mean, and then be a member of sorority, it's AKA, I think.
yeah. But
But
yeah,
anyway,
the thing is, for Asian Americans, we just don't have the numbers.
well, and we have the issue of foreignness.
Yeah,
We are treated as though we just got off the plane,
yeah,
even though there's Chinese, Japanese, and some Filipinos that have been here 12, 13 generations,
yeah.
um, because we have a high immigrant flow, and the South Asians are recent members, right, of that flow.
Mhm.
We get treated, we speak with accents, we speak our original languages here in the country, and that's met with all kinds of fear and anxiety and outright loathing, right? I mean, all of the English only stuff, the treatment of accented people historically in this society. What, the 89, was it, the Fragante case?
Uh,
I
uh,
think it was 1989.
it happened 19, yeah, 89, 90, yeah.
Not, yeah, I think it came up in 89. I think it may have been decided finally in 90, but Fragante versus City of Honolulu, right?
Yeah, city and county. Yeah, county.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the thing is,
Oh yeah, weren't you there? You were
yeah,
there
yeah.
at the
I was
time.
no. I talked about the Fragante case at NPR when I was
Yeah,
there.
but when were you? You were
I
in.
wasn't there till 2003.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right.
but the thing that I have found that Kamala, because look, I don't know Kamala Harris. I like to talk about the story about how we know of each other, but and it's through writing about why she chose black instead of Asian.
Okay.
But now, this last weekend, I understand why she chose black over Asian.
Yeah, you made your point. I
And
yeah,
but she's Asian too.
yeah.
And
But
and
it's
so
when you start to talk culture, she is out front about being South Asian,
yeah,
about being Indian ancestry, and not only that, she starts getting into talking about food.
yeah.
And guess what? That's how we identify. A lot of us who are less than Filipino because we weren't born or raised in the Philippines, right? So they Filipino immigrants consider us less than, okay? But we identify through the food,
Yeah.
and so does she. And I to me, that is she passes the test
Oh
of
yeah.
Asianness.
I
You know,
don't. That now the question is, when people say Asian and they don't distinguish East Asian, South Asian, East
right?
Asian, West Asian, they and Asia's a big place,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
some people don't want to go specifically and say Indian,
Right. That's right.
and some people want to say, oh, she's South Asian,
Right.
so that there's a link.
They do
And
do
then,
that.
and some people don't like to say Asian American, although they should say Asian American. Don't you think?
Right.
They should say, because that's the broad umbrella term,
Yeah.
Asian American.
Yeah.
I mean, but I noticed the first day that she was named by Biden on Sunday, Ed Gordon, CBS News, would say the first African American, Asian American, and I respected that. One person said the first African American, Southeast Asian, which is wrong.
No, that's incorrect.
That's wrong.
Southeast
But
Asia is the peninsula and the
yeah,
islands,
yeah.
the
But
archipelagos.
so they're trying, but you see how ignorant the media really is. And I want to cut them some slack. They need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
know it's Kamala Harris, at first African American, Asian American woman. I think that would be the use of all the proper terms to
Yeah.
identify her,
And please pronounce your name correctly. Yeah.
and don't say Kamala and don't say Kamala.
Yeah. There was a Democrat on this morning on one of the shows, and he said Kamala.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
So
think I
you gotta.
you got to rhyme with
It's sort of like Iraq.
oh yeah,
Iraq.
Iraq.
Iran. Iran. You can almost tell where people are at ideologically by how they pronounce things.
Or yeah, and you could tell how they feel about Kamala by how they mispronounce her
and
name.
and Mr. Trump has been extraordinarily consistent.
Oh, he's a Kamala. He's a
Yeah,
Kamala.
he's definitely that.
Come on. And so this whole thing about identity, I
Yeah,
go
but
with
it's easy. It's and one of the reasons it's easy to understand why he keeps mispronouncing it intentionally is because there's certain Anglo-Euro cultures that don't have extended syllabaries
yeah, but
in
also
their
look,
in their lang- in their
yeah.
I had professors that had a tough time pronouncing Gonzalez.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
well,
in my torts class. I was Gonzalez.
yeah, oh yeah. I had white anchors mispronounce my name a ton of times, and here's a report by Emil Gorgier. Mo, 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 Mo.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah, and so
I mean, these guys. This teacher, this professor was really old and he was from the South, and he would even mispronounce like Italians' names.
yeah.
And so the Italian guys would try and correct this stuff. And I said, "Don't do that, man, because he's going to bite into your ass and he won't let go for half an hour."
Well, I think that you know, people in terms of this, we talked about the honeymoon that Harris is having.
Yeah, yeah.
Part of the honeymoon is getting to know her and then
And
defining
then
her.
seeing how much of that, yeah, if there's a little bit of, let's say, not necessarily an end to the honeymoon, but it lightens up a little bit. The romance takes
Well,
a different takes a different tack.
it's going to happen as more stuff comes out, and
Sure.
I don't. I think that.
Do you think they're going to use her dating her
Oh
willingness?
yeah, I mean, I've heard some people talk about it in very graphic terms, and then Megan Kelly the other day said, "Oh, she slept her way to the
Yeah,
top."
she did. She did. She said
But
that.
it's how can you talk about that and then talk about
Yeah, well, why don't we sick somebody on Megan and
yeah.
see, how many times she slept her way up?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that was always, um, a thing about Kamala Harris and her. She had different boyfriends. Some of them very very powerful, and one of them had something to say. Oh, like Trump put something out about Willie Brown, the
Yeah,
former mayor, and someone said to that, "How many people know who Willie Brown even is?" I mean, you have to be like a San Franciscan local or in your 70s nationally.
yeah, that's right.
Even remember Willie Brown saying, "Give me back my delegation." I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's such
Well,
a
there
it's
was a period of time, like you said, you got to be older to really appreciate it. He's still in the news every once in a while because he's a discussant.
yeah
With Matier, with Phil Matier from you know
yeah,
from the front.
but he's local. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what I'm saying.
he's
He's
no,
local. He's California. People know who he is in Northern California anyway.
but he
But
won't have.
he was the reason the Republicans pushed the issue of term limits in this state
Oh
because
yeah,
they wanted to get his butt out of the
he was a very
speakership of the assembly.
very good speaker, very good politician. But
And he showed up at all of the major events. Remember, he would have different women with him at all the major events, and they were all extremely attractive.
yeah,
And
well,
they looked good in his Porsche. You know what I mean?
well, I also know him to be what they call a dandy. He was
Yes,
always
sir.
in
Yes, sir. Wilkes Bashford, all the
yeah,
way.
but like I said, um, I don't. They're going to use that, but it doesn't really hold water when you consider that the opponent is Donald Trump.
Yep.
Mr. Stormy Daniels, Mr. Sex. Uh,
But he didn't have. He pulled a bill. He pulled a Clinton, man.
yeah,
He
well,
didn't have a
but,
relationship with that woman.
but he's also, sexually, he's liable for a sexual abuse crime, and so, I just think that, I that's probably going to go away. But the things that might stick, the things that might, and people are using this all the time, like Senator Tom Cotton called her San Francisco liberal about 10 times in a 2-minute period.
Hmm.
I think I like, we
Well,
know
my
San
advice
Francisco.
to Senator Cotton is don't come to San Francisco, dude.
Yeah. Well, look,
Don't ever come here.
you know San Francisco liberals. I know San Francisco liberals. I corrected him and said she's more of an Oakland liberal who served in San Francisco, but she's an Oakland liberal. I mean, I think that
Yeah, there's a really big difference there.
yeah. Well, she was born native
Because
native
the
Oaklander,
other end of the bridge, man. The
yeah,
other end of the bridge.
native Oaklander, and
She's on the east side.
yeah. But I think about Kamala is when you say she's a San Francisco liberal. The fact is, there are no Republicans in San Francisco. There might
No,
be
no,
ten
no. There,
percent
there are closet Republicans pretending to be
Democrat,
moderate Democrats.
right? And that really is how a San Francisco liberal is defined. It's a broad category,
Yeah,
including some very moderate Republicans.
yeah,
And I would say, if you say where is Kamala in that spectrum, I would say she is really wherever she needs to be.
right.
She is not. I don't see her as extremely progressive.
No,
I don't think
well, she's
progressives would
yeah.
not say.
To me, she's kind of normal. I mean, I have. Don't you have some personal positions that are rather conservative? Because
Oh yeah,
some of my personal positions are what traditionally get called conservative, and
yeah.
then I have
I mean, like,
other ideological issues that are considered radical, right?
yeah,
And
right.
so she has never done anything that I would consider radical. She the most progressive things that she has done that I remember is that she did a lot of stuff around youth guidance center and around
Yeah.
prosecution of adolescents and stuff
But
that
hey,
people don't give her credit for. She
but,
didn't
but
get credit for that, and
she was
I
also
thought those were good programs.
very Law and Order.
Yeah. Oh
You-
yeah. No, she was tough on serious crime. She
Yeah,
was tough as hell, and
yeah.
that's what the African American community held against her.
All right. How about this, Dan? You remember this? Remember when the cops would not go after the whites who were jumping Asians in the sunset?
In the sunset, yeah, I
I
sure
mean,
do.
they did not prosecute the white gangs. They were sort of informal gangs, but they didn't prosecute them. And I wrote about that a lot and said,
Let's just add some credibility to our statement, and we'll just call them out.
yeah,
They got the McGuires, SDI, Sunset District Incorporated,
mhm,
right? The West Portal
yeah,
group, So there are all these groups in the Sunset. Some of them more vicious street gang than others, but all of them, firmly white, cultural, nationalistic, and they were represented in the schools, in the Catholic schools.
yeah. Well,
They
that's
were
what they were. That's what they were. And that is a political base. That's a political base in San Francisco.
Saint Ignatius, Sacred Heart, Reardon. You know,
And
um,
and she's the top cop, right, as the district attorney. And who are the cops?
that's right.
The Irish Catholic. I mean, I think there was. That's why I
There
thought
was
there was
a
a
there was
lot.
a point in time where I had three cops as neighbors on my block. I
Yeah.
still have one cop, on my block
Mhm.
as a neighbor, and he's getting ready to retire. I'm pretty sure. But there was a period of time when there were three cops
Yeah,
living on my block.
I got nothing against cops. I just when
I got something against some cops.
when I was writing my column in San Francisco, I just asked her why she wasn't going heavy against the white gangs that were jumping the Asians. And I think now in 2024, now that the sunset has changed and is now a lot more Asian than not, and with a lot more Asian politicos on the board, I mean, you couldn't get away with what happened in the, around 2000, the early 2000s, and let that go. But
Yeah,
that was a real thing, and like I said,
yeah.
I
Even well-known people like Ben Fong Torres. Remember when his brother got killed?
oh yeah,
And
Barry.
that was a white on Asian, white on Chinese attack.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I just know that it was in the sunset.
Yeah, right on 19th Avenue, right at that one of the gas stations at the corner of Judah and 19th. Anyway, the yeah, I don't think a lot of people of the last two generations, understand that there were these racist organizations. That the remnants of those groups are still around.
Mm.
The racism of students at some of the leading schools in San Francisco.
Mostly the private Catholic
That's
schools,
right.
and that's the thing that, like I said, I wrote about that, and I never talked to her directly. I talked to her spokesman. They never got back, or they got back, but she didn't get back to me. One time, years later, after all this water under the bridge, we were at a fundraiser, and I saw her and she saw me, and very diplomatically, we walked the other way. I didn't confront her because I wasn't writing that column anymore. But I just noticed that it was different time. But I remember that time. I mean, she could have done something and she didn't. And then uh, I just know now, 2024, totally different time. She's the vice president. She's running for president. She could be president. Totally different equation. And now we can't stop talking about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to remember whether or not people got critical of her, besides you. At
Well,
that time.
and on that issue, maybe not, but on other issues, like, I mean, there were other issues that progressives got on, were upset with her on, and I mean, she was a lot tougher on crime than people thought,
Yeah.
going after marijuana busts and that kind of thing, and I mean, that was 2000, 2003, around there, and it's different now, 2024. And who knows how she would act now. But I mean, this is sort of, it's interesting. On the mainstream level, they bring up things like, this is what she had to say about defunding the police, which I actually think makes sense if you understand the context of what defunding means. It doesn't mean going after serious crime. It just means prioritizing crime, but going after social services in a different way and putting money that you would send to the police to those social service type of issues that they could deal with. It wouldn't be cops. It would be, social services going out to cases that involve mental health issues, whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that was...
Well, but see, the way that the right connects those dots is they say, okay, look at San Francisco. They lessened the penalties, right, for low end theft. Okay.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so as a result, they promoted, okay, the increasingly large scale mass thefts that were going on with groups of 10 and 15 people raiding
Right.
jewelry stores and high end clothing stores, that kind of thing. And the reality is that level of organized theft
Mm.
came from it's actually developed outside the country.
No.
Okay. And then people saw how effective that was, and so they used it in places like San Francisco and in New York.
Yeah, where the laws were, they were more...
Lenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
so
and,
look,
and so they weren't necessarily the same thing, right? I mean, but it happened to be coincidental enough in time that the right could criticize the city and criticize the whole defund
yeah.
the police argument, right, by showing those failures, because they went up and down the coast. They didn't just spend time here in San Francisco. That
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
happened in L.A., happened in Portland, happened in Seattle. So
Yeah. Well, they're going to bring up. They've already started bringing up the defund the police idea, but I don't think it's going to stick, because I think, frankly, once you understand what they meant by defund the police, it was kind of like a misuse of rhetoric.
sure,
And
but yeah, but once again, the righties, the Trump dedicated, and a lot of so-called moderate Republicans, they believe that stuff. So
I know, but
that ain't going to change anything.
well, I know, but they'd be wrong, though. I mean, the truth
Yeah,
has got to
they're
count for
wrong,
something.
but
The
it's
truth, the truth has
well,
got
but
to count for
the
something.
truth is not going to. Well, my point is the truth is not going to change their position.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not gonna,
No, you're right. The truth isn't that. That's a good point. The truth will not change their position. But for people who say, "Oh, defund the police, is that real?" and then
yeah,
you have to say, "No, it's kind of like a misuse of rhetoric. She's not
yeah,
for defunding." She's, as she put it in 2020 when she was senator. She said, "Not for defunding police. I'm for prioritizing crime to keep people safe." Big
yeah,
difference, and you look at her record on Law and Order. She's a badass on Law and Order.
yeah,
So that's why a lot of That's why a lot of progressives don't like her because
That's exactly right.
she's a
That's
bad
why
ass
she get
outlaw.
criticized from the left,
Yeah,
but it's left progressive, moralistic criticism. It's almost what I would call philosophical in
yeah,
terms of its foundation, right? It's ideological, true, but it's also humanistically philosophical.
yeah,
The criticism that comes from the right, however, is the soft on crime stuff, right?
yeah,
And that's the thing that really cracks me up because underneath that soft on crime accusation is they're really scared,
yeah.
and they
It's like,
have every reason to be scared because if she is effective at burning Trump, publicly, if she's effective at doing that, then they know damn well that all of the stuff that they've been saying about Biden weaponizing the Department of Justice, right, and all the rest of that stuff, weaponizing all of the federal bureaucracies against conservatives and everything. When you read Project 2025, that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing in Project 2025. All the
weaponized.
way down, all the way through all of the bureaucracies. That's why the damn thing is so long, because each contributor wrote an entire chapter on some aspect of the federal bureaucracy. That's why
Right,
it looks like that.
right. But this is how they're going to change it. I mean, it's not just a wish list; it's a how to, and
Yeah, it
that
is.
that's what
It
makes
is a how to.
it dangerous
Well,
because
and what makes it dangerous from my perspective is that I hope they're not listening to us, okay? Because their premise, the way that they state their premises, is based in real life. In other words, they're describing stuff that a lot of Americans already don't like about bureaucracies, and particularly about governmental bureaucracies, right? Like there's too much overlap, you get the runaround, you can't get a straight answer. All of those layers of bureaucracy that we have to wade our way through, and now states like San Francisco, I mean, like California, are trying to undo that. Okay,
yeah,
but and they're trying to get rid of the overlap, and they are trying to reduce the cost and size of government and all for all the right reasons. Well, they're making arguments just like that in Project 2025. And the thing that worries me is if they learn how to make those statements and connect the results that they want, people are going to buy into it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so even if they lose, elements of Project 2025 are going to continue to be argued from the right, and it could force down ballot, right, voting coming up in the next 2 years. So you can't just be looking at 2024. You got to be looking at 2026 and 2028 too, because that stuff ain't going away, dude.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
the first time that in a disciplined manner they have developed an actual printed program of their ideas about how to make government work.
yeah. In a lot of ways, it just makes sense from a conservative point of view. Conservative, little government. You see this big bloated government idea, and even if you like government, even if you like what government does, you have to admit it. Sometimes it's inefficient. It's big. It's maybe bloated.
Sometimes, a
There's
lot of
there's
times.
there's overlap, and so you look at how these conservatives, who are basically from states, look at the kind of state governments they run.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at the kind of the part-time legislatures, that are only up
Yeah,
for
that's
like
right.
a half a year, and then they save money there. They don't have state taxes. They believe that you can do this thing on a federal level, and you can try, but it's not going to be anywhere near the kind of government. As bad as you think government is, there are times when you thank your lucky stars that government is there to help build roads, to provide services, to provide that safety net. You're just happy that the government does not abandon you. And what the conservatives want to do is less government so they can do it themselves, and they're free to do whatever they want, and they don't have to
Well,
pay
and they
tax.
also want to privatize it.
Right. Well,
They
yeah.
want to
Well,
make money off it.
yeah. Well, they, if you want the government services, why should the government pay for it? Yeah, private people can
Private.
be outsourced to come in and do the garbage collecting,
Well,
everything that
and
you
and
pay.
okay, if we bring it down to the personal, individual, or familial level, right?
Mhm.
If you want to understand the negative effects of privatization, I mean, the big picture, what the Democrats always argue, right? They say, look at the privatization of education. I mean, it's really
Right,
hurt.
right.
Okay. And then look at the privatization of prisons, right? And so they talk about the education or the school to prison complex and all the rest of that kind of stuff, right? Well, I'm gonna bring it back home even a little closer. And that is, have you ever had to call an ambulance lately?
Oh yeah. Not lately,
Okay.
but I know what it's like. It's not easy.
And it barely gets covered by insurance, and in some instances it doesn't get covered by it depends on which insurance you have.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
but
look.
but
Yeah.
a seven block move of an ambulance, it doesn't make any difference if it's 7 miles or 7 blocks. It's around $900 for that ride. Okay,
Yeah.
for each ride. And there's a lot of elder folks that have had multiple calls to the ambulance. Okay, and who's it they can't pay for that.
Yeah.
So you want to see privatization, take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one thing, what happens is that a lot of them call Uber, and you
There
call
you go.
Uber, and Uber doesn't have oxygen. Uber doesn't have,
That's right.
can't save you if something is happening. You can use it as a taxi to get to the
Yeah.
hospital, and ambulances shouldn't be used as taxis to get to the hospital. But
Yep.
what if you have an episode? What if you have something, you know, and you can't afford an ambulance? You call an Uber, and is Uber going to get you there safely, or Lyft or whatever? Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about privatization, people've got to make money off everything.
That's it.
That's a conservative way. Government, you
It's
know,
capitalism.
yeah,
Capitalism is, heals all problems.
and
And
that's
uh,
yeah,
and and you're seeing right now, that they're getting away with that kind of argument is the
yeah.
reason that what is it? The CEOs make 2,000 times
Oh yeah,
what the
with the
average line worker makes.
and
Per
that's
year.
the reason that's the very reason why people don't feel it. The economy's good.
Yeah,
It's
because the
good
money
for
keeps
those
going up.
CEOs.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not good for the regular people. And what they're really seeing is they're not appreciating how to appreciate the lack of inflation, because
Oh yeah.
the lack of inflation helps everybody, but more so the people up top. What people are feeling and what they feel negative about inequality.
Yeah,
The
sure.
inequality is it's too real.
The
That's what,
disparity is too extreme.
yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I don't think they understand it that way. Do you think
well,
the general public understands it?
well,
The average American?
if you look at the numbers, you look at the inflation numbers, you look how the economy is doing well. All right, that should be, well, why, why the discord? Oh, the economy's doing well, but I feel like crap. The economy's doing well, but I'm paying, 10 times more for groceries, or I'm paying 10 times more for eggs, and I'm vegan. So why is that? And it's
Yeah.
because they're they don't know that their lack of appreciation, or they don't know how to understand inflation and how it
Well,
is good
well,
for
they
them.
blame it on the top and they blame it whoever's holding office. The reality is that a lot of those things aren't controlled by
I,
government.
no,
Okay.
no, but they shouldn't blame those guys. They should just what they really are appreciating with their negativity is they're appreciating the inequality, and
Okay.
that's but they don't get that, and
No, no,
but who
because they're not taught that. I mean, these are the kind of things that could be taught at middle school and
yeah,
on up.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. But especially the right does not want to teach that,
oh yeah,
because
yeah,
then you're allowing people to develop critical perspectives on the economy and on the way the economy really works.
oh, in
Okay, on
America,
the problem with consumerism,
yeah,
right? Consumerism itself is problematic. It's a problematic form of capitalism because what it requires is people continue to buy stuff.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and so
yeah, yeah.
it's anti-cycling. It's use more consumable materials, and it's regardless of whether or not it's toxic for the general environment, right? That's it.
The,
That
the
they want to get rid of
consumer likes.
deregulation. That's you want to get scared. Go check out Project 2025 on EPA, right? And what they want to do
Oh,
with
they
it.
get rid of that.
That's
They're
gone.
getting rid of that.
Education and EPA. Those are two of their biggest priorities, right?
Because you don't need to know what we're doing to you.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't
right.
need to know. It will
We
make
don't
you.
want you understanding how the system really works.
It make you sad. It make you sad. But that's a good point. I mean, we're in a consumeristic society. Consume, and also we have to consume efficiently. They have to make things efficiently so it breaks down. So we have to consume more, right? The obsolescence, right?
Oh,
That's
you don't believe it? You believe in built-in obsolescence?
oh
How
yeah,
dare you?
yeah
How
things are
dare
gonna
you?
my car. Why isn't well? Toyota's finally getting into calculated obsolescence. They'll still give us 20 years, but they're going to let it has to break down at some point.
Yeah, we're a multiple car family, and we got a couple of prestige brands. But what's the workhorse? It's a Toyota.
Toyota,
And it's
yeah,
a Toyota hybrid. So
yeah.
and
But look,
yeah.
when I was growing up, the prestige brand was Muni. Muni was a prestige brand. We did not own a car. We did not own a
Okay.
car. We took Muni and we relied on the kindness of aunties and uncles with cars. And
Okay. Oh, no kidding.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
that's
then
it.
we were the kind of family that you relied on because I remember driving people around.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or,
We did because we were Muni all the way. So Dan,
yeah, but Muni wasn't that bad back then. I mean, the worst
no,
it would get.
you needed Muni, needed Muni. Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
you didn't
Dan.
have to worry about kitchen stuff from all kinds of people.
Yeah. All right, Dan. We talked about Harris. We talked about. I think. Do you think that what gets lost in this? I notice, and maybe it's a good thing. People don't realize she's a woman and that she's the
Good.
first woman. Well, I'm saying that they're so hung up with other issues that they won't bring up point blank. Well, you want to elect a woman? You want to elect a woman now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And a black one.
yeah. Well, see, that used to be the thing that would be right up front, but now it may come out. Oh, it just dawned on me. She's a woman. You can't elect a woman. You know, our misogyny and our sexism is so sophisticated. We cannot. We'll especially with Trump, we have a sophisticated misogynist and sexist who's running on the other side. So he won't mention the fact that she's a woman. He'll just say disparaging things about being a woman. And, I just generally, do you think that at some point it'll dawn on people that, oh, this person that we, are talking about, oh, she happens to be a woman. We can't vote for her. Can't we? I mean, I saw on cable, I saw a white woman make this ridiculous claim saying, oh, you can't vote for Harris. Look at what she's going to do to our husbands and to our sons and all the males in our lives, all the white males in our lives. Look at what she's going to do to them. And
I
she
don't
was
know what the hell is
serious.
he going to do to him.
She was serious. The defender of white alpha males was an older white woman saying,
Well, yeah,
protect
she
our
was
husband.
probably a grab me here Trumper.
Yeah. Protect my husband, protect our sons. I mean, I couldn't believe that. But
What she's going to do, huh?
but
Boy,
do you
they're
think
attributing more power to her than she could actually ever have.
well, yeah, but she is I mean, here's the thing. It used to be the front line attack. She's
Well, that
always
woman she must have a lot of criminals among her male relatives.
yeah, oh that woman, yeah. Well, I don't know. She was a former lieutenant governor of New York.
Oh God.
Yeah, McKay.
Oh God. That's
McKay.
terrible.
Yeah, I know. She writes for the New York Post occasionally. But here's the thing. When is it going to dawn on people who are real misogynists and sexist that, oh, this woman who we don't like all her views on San Francisco liberal and whatnot, oh, she's white. Or she's not white and she's a woman. Oh, we can't vote for her. They're going to say, we wasted our time on all these other issues.
So good. Yeah. What's your response to that?
Well, I think at some point, the fact that it's like low down on the list shows that this is progress. We're not talking about a woman running.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah. I thought that's where you were going with this. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree that it is not the premier, right, or prime consideration, and
yeah,
that does show progress.
yeah.
It's more likely, that they just keep doing the liberal progressive attack, that kind of thing, but and they try to keep the race and the gender
I,
thing
I
down
think
low.
they're not going to be able to keep because like instead of the white woman thing or instead of the woman thing, they brought up the DEI thing just within a couple days. So I think that's coming. I,
Right.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think it's going to be nasty race wise, and then I think it's going to be it's already nasty about JD Vance being married to an Indian woman.
I think, yeah, I know. And from
That's,
inside their own party.
yeah,
From inside their own party.
right, right.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think we're going to start seeing the Republicans implode because of JD Vance and
Don't you love it? I
and the
love it.
hypocrisy. Yeah, the other aspects of their hypocrisy coming out,
I'm going to
and then
spend a lot less time on Netflix just because, of Vance.
yeah.
I'm going to be watching the news all the time.
Now,
I'll even turn Fox on more often
well,
just to see, you
I
know,
I
just
started
to
looking
enjoy
at
how they blow themselves up.
yeah, I started looking at some right wing places like I look at Newsmax.
Newsmax, me too. Me
I
too.
look at you got to look at the right, to
Yeah,
see
you
how
do.
stupid they are, and they're really stupid. I mean, it's everything is just the opposite. They turn it around. It's
I
Newsmax.
love it though. I like it. Did you
Yeah,
see they added a black guy to the
Newsmax.
commentators on Fox?
Oh no,
I forgot to catch his name, but they added a black guy, and I thought, yeah, even Fox is going to have to add a person of color, a
I
black person.
usually the black guy on Fox is liberal, but if they got a new guy, yeah, the guy Jones, something
Yeah,
Jones.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he used to do a show on Sunday. Yeah, I've seen him. He's, they, yeah, they CNN has Shermichael, a guy named Shermichael,
yeah,
and
yeah. But well, and they got Van.
Van Jones,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Van is more moderate than
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but he's,
And he's like
he,
you said, he's from the other side of the bay. He's an Oakland liberal.
well, he did live in San Francisco for a while, but
Yeah.
also Oakland. He was Ella Baker Center. Um, so no, I like Van.
Van's good.
He's come on
His
my show.
analyses lately have been really right on point. He's really
Yeah.
good.
Well, all right. So here we are. The Obamas backing her. I guess.
Yeah, did you see that cute clip that they show?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
No, okay. Yeah, they have a clip showing her having a phone handed to her by an aide,
Oh, and it's Obama.
and it's the
Oh,
it's the
I
couple
saw that.
together.
I
Yeah,
saw,
yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's really cute, and it ends with her saying, "And we're gonna have fun doing this, huh?" And I thought, yes, they are. And Michelle, and
Yeah.
she mentions Michelle first. She,
Yeah.
she said, "Well, I thank you, Michelle and Barack." And
Yeah.
that guy that's with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, all
Oh,
right.
she was
So
more popular than him. I mean, there's
yeah,
no question, right?
right now,
She
yeah.
was more
Well,
popular than him, and
well, Dan. So I guess the honeymoon lasts a little longer, right?
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think people got to get. Some people were criticizing what's his name.
Biden.
No, one of the old guard campaign dudes.
Carville.
The Marine,
Oh, the Marine.
the old Marine. But anyway, because he said you got to watch out. He's Southerner.
Mhm.
His wife was a Republican campaign strategist, but she passed away. Anyway, so he was saying straight up, during this honeymoon period, you can't lose sight of the reality that the ice pick is coming. The ice pick is coming,
Yeah,
and so you got everybody's excited, and he goes, but in this giddiness, has got to coexist, with a level of awareness that the ice pick is coming. And when they get their act together, right now, he said the GOP is a little scattered, but they will come together around a plan of attack,
Yeah.
and it's going to be mean as hell, and you got to be ready
Yeah.
for that. He
Yeah.
got criticized for that position by people, other white men strategists, right, who said, he's not understanding, man, that this is motivating whole new groups of people, particularly the youthful group, and the more moderate elements of the older voters who you can depend on. They're going to show up all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I disagreed with the criticism entirely. I think the guy's right. You
Yeah,
know, I
it's coming. You're right. I think so too. I mean, the Republicans aren't going to roll over it, but the thing is, the new people, they got to stay in there. The 18 to
That's right.
34s, the young people who gave up and didn't give Biden a chance,
Yeah.
the people who didn't want Biden and
Well, and
Biden Trump, but more people are now coming out for her
yeah,
and are voting against
they
Trump.
never did
Want to vote
before.
for Kamala.
Yeah, for the Democrats generally.
Yeah,
Last thing, or at least for me,
yeah.
um, she criticized the demonstrators that are supposedly pro Gaza,
Oh yeah,
anti Israel,
yeah.
and she criticized them. What do you think of that?
Well, she was very pro-Israel. She talked about her history and her family. I think she's solid when she is talking about two-state solution, talking about moving toward peace. I think you can we live in America. We can respect people's ability to protest, but I didn't see her full statement. But I know I saw one statement where she was very pro-Israel, and the right to exist, the right to defend themselves, and that's going to run counter to a lot of pro-Palestinian views.
That's
Uh,
right. And there's a lot of kids, not necessarily. Uh, well, I'm thinking about all the protests on
the
universities.
universities.
Yeah, yeah.
You think it's going to negate their moving?
Well, I saw. Did you see the stuff that was going on at Union Station?
I did see, yeah,
To protest, and people painting like Hamas on the
yeah,
base of the
Hamas flag,
station and raising the not only the Palestinian flag but the Hamas flag and all that.
the
Okay.
triangle, yeah, the
Yeah,
target,
I really resent that. I really do.
yeah,
I think that's something that I've gotten into arguments with some of my students about, and even some members of my family, that because they're into Israel is committing genocide and therefore it's absolutely condemnable, and you got to stop funding them and all that. You got to not only ceasefire now, but you got to stop funding Israel.
yeah,
And so I'm concerned about that. And she condemned the people who were intentionally supporting and Hamas, and
yeah,
I think that's legitimate.
yeah,
You got Hamas is using the hell out of their own people
mhm,
and destroying Gaza, because of their own desire to maintain power.
yeah,
So I hope. The problem is Netanyahu more so than even the
yeah.
Gazan Hamas people.
He's
So
right down the middle there, playing both sides, and I saw his speech and I thought, boy, he's just playing Congress. I was for the people who boycotted, because why do you want to be used as propaganda for a guy in Israel who most of the Israelis want out?
yeah,
And the Congress was out there clapping. There it was. There's the photo op that Netanyahu wanted. We give so much money. The United States, gives so much money to Israel, like 300 billion, something like that. That's a
oh
huge
yeah,
economic military aid that I guess we deserve our own State of the Union address with the Israeli Prime Minister, because that's what it looked like.
that's what it. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did. It
yeah.
did.
But
He he,
Yeah.
it processed in exactly the same pattern, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's walking down the aisle. He gets all you're welcomed warmly, and he goes up there, and then he starts pointing out people,
The props.
up in the mezzanine, right? And he's saying, hey, yeah, and some of them were actually Palestinian,
Yeah.
right? A couple of the
The,
military guys.
the African folks who
Yeah,
were.
as an African. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
it was, he's showing. What is he showing though? He's showing DEI.
yeah. Well, I what I didn't like was that he's using Congress, and I just like I said, when I heard that there were some Congress members of Congress boycotting, I believe they were right. I still think we need to talk, and maybe we can get at some kind of meaningful peace, but it's a long process, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't.
Netanyahu ain't gonna let that happen.
Yeah,
Netanyahu, I can guarantee you, he ain't gonna let that happen. What
yeah,
he doesn't realize is he's already a dead man.
yeah,
There's some point in time he's gonna have to let that thing go. Okay, and then everybody will know he's a dead man, including himself. But the fact that he's holding on really puts Israel itself in dire jeopardy. It
yeah,
really does. And I mean, if Hezbollah decides they really want to get nasty, wow! I mean, they can rocket the hell out of Tel Aviv from a distance. And then what is he going to do? Is he Yeah, are they able to fight two fronts? And then if that happens, could something blow up in the West Bank?
yeah.
Are
That's
they going to be able to police
yeah.
three fronts?
Look, that's why he's talking about this Abraham alliance, kind of a Mid East NATO, and he's relying heavily. He wants to make sure the U.S. is on board. We are on board to such a degree. It's amazing considering how much money we give to Israel that we say jump and they don't ask how high. You know, I mean, they are beholden to the United States, and we don't have as much power there as we would like. That's the puzzling thing.
Yeah, well, we could have more power there, but it would have to be done subtly, and it would have to come from cultivating the anti-Netanyahu forces
It's
in the
always
country.
it's always relationships, and that once again is the bottom line of the Netanyahu trip. He's
Yeah,
got relationships with everyone, and so let's see. We got to follow it, but the young people who may be upset by what Harris said, I don't know. I don't think it's going to hurt her, considering how on balance she is probably better than Trump in terms of the future of Israel. I think. I think.
well, yeah, it depends on how you look at it, right? Trump does stuff. He doesn't do diplomacy. He does show,
Right. Right.
right? He does show, and so his big show move was sending his son-in-law over there.
Oh yeah,
Supposedly to
Jerusalem.
get lasting peace, and
Yeah.
and what they came away with was making Jerusalem the capital,
Right.
and thus alienating Christians and Muslims alike, right? And with the influence of course, the emphasis rather on anti-Muslim,
Yeah.
and so that's all he got done, and all that did was support once again the radical right that is the mainstay of the Netanyahu administration.
So we'll just have to keep following it and see how it impacts the election. But she's got 100 days,
Yep.
104 days, 103 days,
Yep.
and I something in me says I think she can probably do it.
I think she can too. I like the compressed period. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know if people systemically will look at this situation and realize that you don't need to have a 2-year run and spend billions of dollars on advertising and ads and
They
all
just
that stuff. Yeah, I mean, what the hell?
they
You
just
know,
spent it in the last 90 days,
yeah,
last
man. I mean,
days.
why are people there? Are a lot. I understood why Trump had to announce because he's a has been.
Yeah.
He was in the office. He lost the last damn election, so he wants to get a head start on everything. But his head start actually counts against him because he thought that by running, it was going to stall out all
Yeah.
of the prosecutions against him. I think he really believed that. I
Yeah.
think they thought they were going to shut him all down just by running.
Well, he almost did. He almost. Well, now he's got to run and win.
Well,
Run and
but
win.
see, they weren't very realistic about the state prosecutions.
Right. That's true. That's true. All right, Dan. Let's one last thing, because after this week, no one will be talking about Joe Biden anymore. I mean, Joe Biden's still relevant. He's president, but Joe Biden stepped away. It's hard to believe. Just a week ago, he stepped away, and now here we are on a Friday after, and it's like it's all Kamala. It's all Kamala. It's not Joe. What did you think about Joe Biden's his explanation on Wednesday? Did it make sense? Was it?
No, yeah, it made sense. You
Yeah.
know, it made sense, and yeah, I thought it was a really good, serious statement. And I'm just interested in seeing what he's going to make his priorities as a lame ducker.
The last
Going
month?
on out. But what did you think?
Well, I I thought that he wanted to come up with an ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country
Oh
moment.
yeah, that kind of a
He wanted to elevate the passing of the torch to make it sound like what he was doing was this enlightened bit of selflessness, and for this is what you do for your country. You step aside, and almost I think the passing of the torch, if you read my column on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog, I wrote it on Wednesday or Tuesday rather. I thought the passing of the torch and the turning over of the campaign staffers and apparatus on Monday, I thought that was the passing of the torch. And I thought Wednesday was sort of the formal acknowledgement, and the speech to regular folks said, hey, look, I lead by example, and I want you to know that there is a higher thing you can do as an American, and it's what you do for your country. And it's sometimes it means stepping aside and letting others lead.
yeah. That's exactly what he was doing, and I thought it was a serious and effective statement.
Yeah. I thought he was good, but now Ron Klain, his staffer, said this was like a definition of what American citizenship should be like. That what you would do for your country. I mean, the reason why we don't have a sense of team, a sense of pulling together, is because very few people would think about our country, and they would think about themselves. They'll think about the stock
Yeah.
market, their enrichment.
Well, just your language right now reminds me of Kennedy, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe if Biden does that, if he sparks that, then that's a good thing that he's done, because we don't have that. We have, we're still on
Yeah.
separate teams. Even Trump unity is, kind of BS, and no one believes Trump and the bullet, creating a sense of unity. So
Yeah. It
so
was kind of that was even beyond, some stuff originates as BS.
yeah,
And the unity thing coming from Trump was original BS. I mean, I think you brought that up at one of our previous discussions, and I said, by what standard? By what standard are they going to actually say, here's what we can all get together on? What are the criteria for unity? Okay.
I don't know, but it's so elusive that
The
whenever,
criteria for unity is you got to vote for Trump. That's it. You
yeah,
got to put Trump back in. He's going to save the country. He's
yeah,
really the savior of democracy, right?
yeah,
And all the rest of that stuff.
and then when we vote for him, he'll
Hey,
like Lucy in the football, take it away, and like, oh,
you know,
Yeah.
Well, and they're so easy on the lock her up or lock him up or
Yeah.
whatever. And then when it comes to 34 felonies, right, and convictions, and they blame it on Biden instead of saying, well, it's a bunch of crazy ass liberal jurors in New York, right? That
Yeah.
at least that would be a more realistic position to take. But
Yeah.
weaponizing the government, they did all these things against me, rah, rah, rah. Yeah,
Well,
really. Okay,
weapon
good. You
that
know,
Project 2025 is a pretty handy weapon that
yeah, it is.
they're
Yeah,
using. So,
yeah. You mean
so
in terms of developing a critique against those guys?
yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
so we'll have to get more into that subsequent. All right. So Dan, let's we'll put a lid on it
you
now.
got to wrap it.
We'll see how Kamala does. I like I said, I think a lot of people are very positive. She may not. I mean, it's still going to be close. We'll see who she picks as the vice president. I guess that'll be the next shoe to drop, and we'll see what else the Republicans come up to throw at her. San Francisco liberal.
Yep,
I mean, you're not even a
slept
San
her way
Francisco
up. Slept her
liberal.
way up. I like that.
Yeah, you're a San Francisco radical. You're not a San Francisco liberal.
On
Yeah.
occasion, I am a San Francisco radical.
I'm 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 a San Franciscan in exile, so that I'm not radical or liberal or moderate enough, but I'm in exile, and I look at it and I say, I remember dealing with her. She was not truly a San Francisco. Well, if we define San Francisco liberal as those Republicans or moderates, in the middle, she was one of those, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yep, yep. She was definitely not what I would call a career progressive. She was
Yeah,
she was in the middle.
yeah. So, well,
Anyway,
Dan,
okay.
all right, Dan. Listen, thank you for being on the program. Thank you for
Well,
your
thanks for having
input.
me again.
Yeah,
As
and
our
we'll look at Olympics. I guess you're
Yep.
gonna vote. You're gonna vote against Team USA and vote for Team Philippines or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just interested in seeing what's how many athletes they're entering in what sports. I already have an idea based on past Olympics what they're going to do, but I
Right.
think the funniest stuff is when the Philippines enters the winters.
Oh yeah, the winners. That's
Yeah,
always fun.
that's always good.
But
Okay, so I'm looking forward to a lot of martial arts. I'm going to watch a lot of martial arts. I'm going to watch the swimming, of course,
yeah.
and gymnastics, and then what's the other category? You see that they're going to do breakdancing on the last?
Oh yeah, breakdancing and what's the other one? The skateboarding.
Oh
Skateboarding.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I always thought. I guess I was probably conflating two games.
I mean
But
breakdancing and rhythmic gymnastics.
rhythmic, yeah, yeah. But I thought you dug that ribbon dance thing. I mean,
Yeah, ribbon cake. Ribbon cake.
All
I
right,
said,
man.
okay, all right, Dan. We'll see. We'll
Peace
see.
out.
There you go. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University. My friend, Professor Emeritus. Always good for some insight, especially on those white Irish gangs in San Francisco. Man, he knew them. He knew those white Irish gangs. So we're going to put a lid on this. We come on every Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific. And we just give you our opinion. What does an Asian American think? WDAAT. WDAAT. Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. Catch us on YouTube at Emil Amok1, on Facebook at fb.com/Emil Guillermo or emilguillermo.media, or on X, Twitter, at Emil Amok. We're on all those. I like to close with a little meditation. And I say this meditation, I read this. I'm going to read this, and you tell me which presidential candidate has written this. The universe intends that I be loved. All is planned for my greater good. As the handwriting of God, the universe both self-organizes and self-corrects. Through love, I am connected to a pattern of perfection. All problems in the world, from the subtle to the immense, derived from someone having lost connection to the love within their hearts. Today, I plant myself within love's universe that I may dwell within the miraculous matrix. As I align my thoughts and actions with love, I experience my greater good. I trust the universe to create through me ever increasing dimensions of peace and joy. I do not know how to control the universe, nor do I need to. The universe is controlled by love and love alone. Outside love's embrace, the world is chaos, but within it, all is safe and secure. Today, I choose the arms of love in which to rest my soul. The universe intends that I be loved. All is planned for my greater good. That is from Marianne Williamson, who is running for president and who would deserve a shot to be president of the United States, but not being in the establishment fold, not being a career politician. She outvoted Dean Phillips, who is essentially an establishment, outsider. He didn't do very much in the Democratic, primary. Marianne Williamson got some votes, but she's an outsider, and she really has no way to win. I know she was trying to change the delegate count, but it looks like she's lost that because we now look at Kamala Harris as the presumptive nominee with all the delegates, not all, but all the delegates she needs to secure the nomination. 1976, I think she needs. She has well over that. And it's a shame that people like Marianne Williamson, well, I just read you what she's written. She's a good soul, a good heart, and her politics are probably even better than we suspect. But she has no shot in the establishment politics of the United States, and it's a shame. It's a shame that she wasn't even heard. It's a shame that she was shut out. And she's a candidate worthy of support, but now here we are with 100 days left, and anyone who is anti-Trump or non-Trump, because the race is so close, is almost without a doubt pro-Kamala. And so I just want to put that out there and share with you some words of another candidate who might have been worthy of your support had you known about her. Had she had the money to have the same kind of platform, the same kind of access to you, the people, as a vice president, as a congressman. I mean, she has access as a writer, spiritual teacher, as a voice, but it pales next to what establishment politicians have. So that was Marianne Williamson. I do not know how to control the universe, nor do I need to. The universe is controlled by love and love alone. Outside love's embrace, the world is chaos, but within it all is safe and secure. Today I choose the arms of love in which to rest my soul. I mean, if politicians led with love more than they led with hate and selfishness, I mean, that's one thing you could say about Joe Biden. He, stepping aside, was selfless. To what degree was that self-love, though, huh? Maybe he knows he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it anymore. Anyway, we won't know, but what an historical moment these last 3 weeks, if you go back to the debate, last 2 weeks, if you go to the shooting and Biden's step aside last week. a week if you just count the step aside. Hope you're paying attention. It's time to pay attention. Time to get engaged. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Emil, Amok to you. Till next time. Mahal.